again, everybody, and in this episode on Random Considerations, I'm going to be sharing with you how I get my seeds started every year for my garden. I'm running a bit late this year. Usually I would do this around mid-December, as early as mid-December with these particular plants, but here it is mid-March and I'm just now getting to it. I think it depends on where you live. Here in Central Texas, it's a pretty late start. If you're farther north, it might be completely normal to start in mid-January. But we're going to see how it goes, and if all else fails, I could always just, if it doesn't get going fast enough for the spring, then I could just go and buy some. But I'm going to try to avoid that. Now, this is just for the plants that do better to start them out as seedlings. Some plants are better to start them out by direct sowing, meaning you put them directly into the ground where you're going to have them grow. And then other plants are better to kind of start indoors where you can baby them a little bit and get them going and then take them out and transplant them into the ground where they're going to grow. And that's what we're doing here, is the seedlings that we're going to keep up with indoors. Normally I do this inside because normally it's the middle of December and it is usually cold outside. And it's usually even colder in January, but today it's just a really nice day today. It's got to be in the mid-70s. In fact, I probably should have changed shirts because this is a little warm, but I'm going to live with it. I guess to get started, I'm going to take a look at what I've got. I pretty much have seeds from last year already, and it may seem strange to have these envelopes, but they have seeds in them. And the reason they're in envelopes is because I got these through the free seed giveaway that Ray with the Praxis 55712 and Voodoo Garden channels, he does this free seed giveaway every year for his subscribers, and it's a pretty short, simple thing for us. For him, he's got thousands of viewers and he does it all by himself, so it's pretty impressive that he's willing to do this for his viewers. But it's just, I still have my seeds that I got from him last year because I didn't really get to my gardening as much as I wanted to last year. So last year he sent out the January 2014 giveaway. He sent out Tokyo green onion, little gem lettuce, Cubanelle sweet pepper, tender sweet carrots, and delicious beefsteak tomatoes. Now the onion, the lettuce, and the carrots are the kinds of vegetables that are better to plant directly in the ground, so it's not time for them yet. But peppers and tomatoes tend to be best to start as seedlings. So I'm probably going to try to do a few of these. And in this year's seed giveaway, there's a little variety. I think it was some of the same as last year, but that's okay. The same carrots, the same lettuce, the same onion. It was a different variety of tomatoes, a Rutgers tomato, and it just says sweet banana pepper, which I guess is different than a Cubanelle sweet pepper. I don't know if they're just different varieties of the same pepper or they're different kinds of peppers. I could probably look it up, but I'm not doing that right now. So, and I'll probably end up using all of the seeds, or at least I'll start with my older seeds first on the ones that is a duplicate of. So I've got some banana pepper and tomato in these envelopes that I'm going to start out as seedlings. Here I've got this can of herbs that I bought last year, and I used some of them last year and some of them I didn't. And it came with thyme, oregano, dill, basil, parsley, cilantro, broadleaf sage, and onion and chives. And I planted some of these. I actually had made this planter and I planted them in that planter, and they all started to grow pretty well, and then I guess I didn't do a very good job building the planter because it collapsed out. It was a wooden planter and it collapsed underneath and everything fell out. Very few things survived that. So some of these I still have some of them I don't. Anyway, I might get out a different pot and direct sow them, so I'll probably do these later, but I just wanted to check out what I had. So I'll just put them back in the little container they came in. And here are some bulbs. These are two different types of flower bulbs. I've never been much for flowers, but I think I'm going to go ahead and try it this year. One is a Tigridia, and the other is Gladiolus. And that's what the flowers kind of look like. I don't know if you can see it because I can't see the camera screen to be able to make sure everything's in frame. That's the Gladiolus, and this is the Tigridia. We'll see how flowers go. Flowers and I have not always gotten along, but I'm probably going to plant them in the same area because apparently the Gladiolus is a midsummer blooming flower, and then the Tigridia is the late summer blooming. flowers. I've always wanted to be a flower person. And one of these days, I'm going to succeed at being a flower person. I have confidence in myself. And then all my other seeds are in this old oatmeal container. Now I've got a lot of them. Some of them are probably too old. So let's see what else I have. Oh, I have some jalapeno left. Let's see if I can start that. Because this is Texas, so. And tomato. Let's see, I got some more sweet banana peppers. I bought those last year. I have these Texas cherry tomatoes. Like, I've had different cherry tomato varieties, but these really took off when I grew them, so I'm going to try them again. Bell pepper, I think I'll try that. Roma tomato. Did pretty good last year or the year before? I think it was the year before. So I'll try those. Watermelon is more of a direct sowing sort of thing. It's not time for them yet. Corn, the same deal. Cucumber. I've had these cucumber seeds for a long time. I have my doubts as to their viability, but we'll try them. No, actually, those are a direct sowing kind of thing too. We'll try them later when it's that time of year. Carrots. Kale. It might. Nah, it's a little. Such a nice day today. It's very deceptive because it's still January, so there's probably going to be more frost. The sweet banana peppers. So we don't want to sow anything directly, even if it's a cooler weather plant. Squash. Lemon balm, like I need any more lemon balm. If you saw my video with raised tire beds, you know I already have a lemon balm plant, and it's still very happy over there. Seems to like winter. Rosemary. Apparently I have quite a few. Ooh, I got pumpkin. I'll have to plant that later. I think that might be the extent of all of my started as a seedling plants. Everything else does better to sow it directly into the ground. Okay, yeah. Everything else I have works best as direct sow. So, pretty simple. Basically going to start out with tomatoes and peppers. That's what we're going to start out with. I will say though, this last thing of bulbs here that I didn't put down on the ground is actually onions. The red onions specifically. And generally you plant onions in the fall, like in the early stages of the fall, and let them winterize. And that's if you want to have onions the following season. I'm probably going to plant these in the same place that I plant the flowers, because I like onions. I had the same set of onions for nearly 2 years before they finally just kind of overgrew the pot that they were in and started to droop and look kind of sad. So I finally ended up pulling them up. And I've yet to be able to grow an onion for the purposes of having onions. But it's just a pretty plant. I don't know if you've ever seen an onion plant, but the flowers on the onion plants are very pretty and everything. So that's what I tend to do with my onions. We already said those were direct sow. Now to start my seeds, I've used the little burpee starter tray things before, and they worked alright. But I'm just going to use the red plastic party cups. It's what Ray uses on his channel when he starts new seeds, and it seems to work well for him, so that's what I'm going to use. Go ahead and get it out. I'm going to use the can of herbs to hold down my seed packets here. Oh, something else I should mention is I have another little grits container that I keep my little tags in and markers to write on the tags so that I can keep up with what I've got going on. So, I'll be needing that. And I got my soil down here next to me. And I just use my bare hands. Some people prefer to wear gloves. For some people, there's an allergy situation that goes on if they don't wear gloves. I get that. But I actually like it better to be able to get my hands dirty. It's kind of one of those things that makes you feel like a kid, you know? So I've already got this potting mix, and I just use regular potting mix. And I keep my potting, I bought a big giant bag of it last year, and what I didn't use, I put in this bucket. You know, another reason that I'm wanting to use these cups is I want there to be plenty of room for the roots to kind of get going in here. Not so it gets root bound, but so that it has a little bit of nutrition and everything going on. So that the seedlings can get as big as they can get in these containers. That way they stand a better chance once I get them outside. Particularly with my pepper plants, if they don't have a good enough start going on before I plant them out here, they just get decimated by whatever bugs I've got. And even though the thing about, you know, I try to be organic-ish, you know, sometimes I'll use the not so organic potting soil and stuff, but I don't spray my yard with pesticides and that sort of thing. I try to allow nature to take care of itself, and I have found in the past couple of years that the pests have dropped since I've let things go back to the way they do, because while the pests may come, so do the creatures that eat the pests. So usually start out with the pests, and then when the predators are like, oh look, there's plenty of those guys over here, then they come along and everything evens out. So I don't worry too much about pesticides. And I have found that I've had less problems with bugs in my garden in the past year or two in particular than I did in previous years. Okay, so I filled 1 cup. We're going to start out with the sweet banana pepper seeds that I bought last year. And I'm probably going to sow a couple of seeds in here. So I'm going to try to have my garden a little bit more condensed. Generally, you want room to breathe in your garden, but in this case, I want them to kind of feed off of each other and to be connected to each other. And since they're going to be in a raised bed, they shouldn't be competing too much with anybody else other than each other. So as long as I keep them pretty well watered and keep adding additional compost throughout the season, it should be okay. And I'm hoping that it takes less watering to keep up with them in a smaller space that way. It's kind of experimental. I've seen it work for other people, so hopefully it will work for me. So I'm actually going to sow a few different seeds in this same container. I might do 1 or 2, I'm not sure. And then I'll probably thin them out to 3 and let those 3 take off. The thing about pepper plants is you need at least 2, well, pepper plants as well as most flowering plants, you need at least 2 so that they can flower with each other, because they're typically not self-pollinating. That ought to do it for this container. We'll sprinkle a little bit more on the top here. It's pretty full already. Don't want to cover them up too much, just enough so that they're cover them up from the sun to give them a reason to look at my. There's not much water in it. I thought there was a lot more water in this. I'm trying to gently water it so I don't send all of this somewhat dryish soil off into floating everything away. Set that aside for now. Them down here, back in the container where they go. For my next bag of tricks, I think we'll do tomatoes this time around. We'll do some of these Roma tomatoes. I've had these for a couple years, not sure how viable they are. Oh, I guess I better put a tag on that, huh? On that last one. So I'll use my garden stakes. And a marker. And then I can reuse the stakes when I plant them out. The Roma tomatoes now. There's not a whole lot left in this one, so I'm going to plant them all. Alright, let's try the cherry tomatoes. Start putting them over here. Let's see, we've got peppers. Okay. These are some old jalapenos. I don't know if they'll take. If they don't take, about the time that I figure out they're not going to take, it'll be time to go and buy some seedlings at the store. So there's always that as a backup. But since these are as old as they are, I'm going to dump the whole packet. Jalapeno. Don't forget the little poop. Because they're not jalapenos. They're jalapenos. And some bell peppers. I think I bought those at the same time as the jalapenos, so they're probably also 2010. Yeah. you plant seedlings, you want to give them a good soaking, but I've got limited water in there, so I'm going to have to do it in a little while. Alright, we're getting down to the seeds from Ray. I really do like Ray's channel. It's actually the only channel that I have on my subscription list that I genuinely anticipate the next episode for. It's a very nice show. Everybody that watches this show is nice. He's very particular about his subscribers. He doesn't just let anybody subscribe just so that his channel makes more money. He limits his subscribers to people that are respectful to each other. And that's very rare on the internet. But he has two different channels. He's got the Practice 55712 channel and he's got Voodoo Garden channel. Generally, the Voodoo Garden is his indoor garden and the other channel is more of his outdoor gardening. But even then, his channel's a little bit more than gardening. It has just bought a house recently where he's kind of revamping this fixer-upper house, so there's some stuff with that. He's got chickens, he's got whatever comes to mind that he has on his episode, but most of what he does is gardening, so as a result, his channel seems like a gardening channel. Okay, so now we are about to do the delicious beefsteak tomato. Cubanelle sweet peppers. Pretty low on the water. The Rutger tomato. The Rutger tomato is not the beefsteak tomato, so I tend to have pretty good luck with tomatoes. Well, I say that. It depends on the variety. Some varieties I have better luck with than others. Again, with all of these, I'm probably going to thin them down, but not to anything less than 3 or 4 in the container. And generally, that's quite a bit for one container. But what I'm trying to do is to keep my garden, my raised beds, condensed as possible. And if you do it right, if you keep adding more compost and adding more to, I've seen these condensed, I don't know what they call them exactly. They're like the square foot gardening, but even that's not exactly accurate. But for basically condensing everything into as small of a space as possible. Keeping it, you have to keep it thinned down on the weeds because there's no room for sharing at this point. The only plants that can share are the ones that you want there. And you gotta keep them fed. You gotta keep adding nutrition into the soil in this case. But I'm hoping it'll help save on the water. So that's pretty much going to be that. I think I'm probably also going to dump the stuff in the soil in this bucket into one of my other pots out here, a couple of my other pots out there, and I'll show you that as well. So this is that I actually grew my onions in before, and in case you were wondering, yes, that is a toilet. that actually looks like a brand new onion. We'll let those guys stay, but this is grass. I actually pulled them all up, but it looks like a few babies stayed behind. That's fine. So this is one of the containers I'm going to put some of my soil in here. The reason I'm using it is the soil's been sitting in the house for over a year, and it's always good to kind of replenish your potting mixes. We actually replaced this toilet had a slight crack in the bowl itself, so we had to replace the toilet. So when we did, we replaced it with a more efficient, more modern toilet. This toilet's probably been around since the house was built in the mid-70s, so. And it was going to be both the toilet and the tank too, but before I got around to filling it, it rained and the tank filled with water and it tipped it over and it cracked the tank. Like broke it in half actually. And I think I'm going to go ahead and sow the bulbs in. Now the onions I already said probably would be fine. They tend to want to winterize anyway. I don't know about the flower bulbs, but heck, I'm going to do it anyway. And I'm going to sow them all in here. Now with onions, you would want to leave quite a bit of space if you're wanting to actually have them for onions. But in my case, like I say, they never really get that big, no matter what I do. So I'm not going to worry about that. If you sow them too close together, the bulbs are not going to get very big. So if you want onions, don't do that. But I actually like the green parts the best when I do eat them. By the way, onion and garlic is a good plant to put around fruit trees to deflect ants if you need to deflect ants. These are the late bloomer tigridias. And then the midsummer blooming gladiolus. Okay, good enough for me. Throw more soil on the top. Now I am willing to bet that by the time I come out and look at this tomorrow, it will have been dug up by cats. That's what happened the last time. But all I had to do was just dump it all back in and everything was fine. That ought to do it. And this is an old moped frame that wasn't really good for much of anything other than this. So, although I'd planted rosemary in here before, it died. It grows weeds very well, as you can see. We're going to go ahead and pull those back out. And I'm just going to top this off with some more potting mix. I don't really have anything to put in here yet. Actually, you know what? I think I might put some more of those flower bulbs, just the flowers. As I mentioned in the raised tire bed episode, the honey used to own a motorcycle shop. So in addition to tires, he also ended up with all kinds of bikes and stuff that sometimes they were just so beyond repair and everything that the customers would be like, you know what, it's not even worth it, and they would just leave it. And this was one of those times. It was a moped, nothing really was any good on it. The frame wasn't apparently good enough for use without pretty much building a new frame. So here it is in my backyard. Make sure to, when you plant bulbs, the only thing I do know that's kind of a big deal is to make sure that the roots are aimed down. Everything else, I think it's just the way things go. I've worried about using this as a gardening bed though, because I do worry that it gets too hot because it being metal and all. But we'll see. I don't know if it was that, or maybe I just didn't have a strong enough soil last year, because I didn't really use a potting mix. I used some of my homemade compost, and that was it, and I don't think that was really enough. Especially since I had such a little amount of my homemade compost. Alright. Okay, so that's pretty much going to be it for this episode. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, I hope you give it a thumbs up below. And if you got any comments or anything, go ahead and give those down there as well. If you like this channel, go ahead and click on subscribe to the channel. And you can also check us out on our website, randomconsiderations.com, where I share these videos. I might share a little bit more information from the videos than I share directly on YouTube. As well as I also sometimes just write blog posts on the website rather than make a video about them. So there's actually going to be more content on the website than you'll find on the YouTube channel. So if you're really interested in what we have to say and do here, you can check that out. If you enjoy genealogy in any kind of way, I recommend my other channel, Monkey and My Tree. That'll be linked down below. And I just basically do the occasional video specifically about genealogy, tips, tricks, and anything else that I might come up with that's genealogy related. And there is a part of Random Considerations devoted to my genealogy, and it also includes a section devoted to Monkey and My Tree, so you can also find the videos there. So, and then we're also on Facebook and on Twitter for both Random Considerations and for Monkey and My Tree. So if you want to follow one or both, you can check us out there to keep up with what's going on. So that's going to be it. Thank you for watching, and I hope you have a great day.